Hello everybody, Max Scoville here for IGN. Triple Frontier is a brand new Netflix original movie which follows a bunch of ex-military operatives as they try to steal a bunch of money from a South American drug lord. What could possibly go wrong? We are actually live here right now with the star-studded cast and director of the film answering your questions from the internet live. That's happening in just a minute, so don't go anywhere.
Move. Move!
Live Q&A. Cast and filmmakers.
And we are back, and I'm here right now with Pedro Pascal, Oscar Isaac, Adria Arjona, Charlie Hunnam, Garrett Hedlund, Ben Affleck, and the director, J.C. Shandor. And we're here to talk about Triple Frontier, which, okay, as the title would suggest, it's a bit of sort of a mixing of boundaries. It's a little bit action, a little bit heist, a little bit of a war movie, some suspense. How would you classify it? J.C., why don't you start us off? Put it in a box, please.
I think you did a really good job. I think our hope for the film was that it would operate at two different levels. On one level, you'd have a good old-fashioned, action movie heist that would just never let you go, grab onto you. And then if we did our jobs right, I think on another level, you have what hopefully is a character study that's actually looking at a bunch of people's lives who've been through 15 or 20 years of a tremendous experience, and they're kind of reflecting on that. And I think you merge those two things together, and hopefully that turns into something.
Now, something that I really like about this is that it is a movie. It is just a brand new movie. It's not based on anything. It's not set in some existing IP or cinematic universe. There's no prerequisite reading. As actors, is that refreshing and liberating, or is that sort of a daunting task to not have this safety net of existing stuff? Ben?
I think it's great. I think it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's obviously, in some ways, it's based more in, for us, I think, more in truth than even movies that are based on, other IPs or whatever, because, for us, it was really about, first and foremost, kind of the training that we did with the Special Forces operators, the guys who were in the military, trying to convincingly replicate what they did, how they looked, how they moved, and also listening to them talk about the process of adjusting, from being deployed over and over and over and over again to coming back home and what those challenges were. So for me anyway, I was trying to go for something, realistic. But yeah, it's also always nice to have certainly an original story, original idea.
And the rest of you want to weigh in on this at all?
It's just funny that feels unique. It felt that way when the project came around, and some of us got the opportunity to meet with JC and talk about it, and almost, and hopefully you don't take this the wrong way, but the vintage aspect of a sophisticated action drama, and because it's strange that these movies are somehow unique, or that this be unique because of that. I think Jay-Z's movies have that sort of experience, a sophisticated tone, and an original version of a beginning, middle, end of a story. And so it's weird that's more rare.
I mean, yeah, you look at the top movies, and it's a bunch of adaptations and sequels. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's something kind of
there might be something. I mean, it's very valid. But it would seem absurd to be having this conversation when we're talking about storytelling, and storytelling by its nature should aspire to be original.
Yeah, and I mean, the source material isn't so much
set up.
Yeah, it's not so much like a true story or anything, but you guys were working with real operatives and getting to know them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I feel that was, for me, the most interesting and exciting part about it, is getting to hear the stories of the real guys, the guys that lived this life, that sacrificed so much for their country, and getting to work with them, particularly this Nick John and Kevin Vance, and Nick John, who was with us every step of the way. Massive guy, legs like tree trunks, but also the most kind, humblest, calm, Yeah, I mean, it's just like
Could not rattle this guy.
yeah. Jay rattled.
We're like,
Jay rattled. Oscar's assistant had an amazing game where with this special forces guy who had been all over the planet, they would
sneak up on each other.
sneak up on each other.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, it was an absolute.
He's passed on. Oscar's got a new assistant.
How could Jay even reach?
Well,
like,
that's what's fascinating. Is
how he
Nick
got
John
him.
was about 6'7", and I think Jay is shorter than that. We'll just say, and so these two guys, you just see them on set, kind of stealthily trying
They
to
get the drop on each other.
I love that.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in the movie, without spoiling anything, where there's a point in the movie where things just start going wrong, and they just keep getting worse and worse. And there's a part where you guys are kind of at each other's throats, and you're just kind of like, can we not do this right now? Can we just handle this? And I love that because it's sort of just like cutting off stress and just sort of calming it. Obviously, we're doing some live entertainment right now. You guys have, I'm sure, done some stressful things in your lives. Do you have any stress relief tips? Maybe how do you get as calm as a special ops guy?
I think they get caught.
we all go silent. Haven't figured that
Clamming
out.
up is a good defense mechanism.
Not even close. Not even close.
I usually accuse people of making me angry,
That's a good stress relief.
and it really seems to relieve my stress. As long as there's people around for me to be extremely hostile towards, then that usually works. I
transfer the stress?
suggest you all try it.
We had a great team dynamic, and we had Pedro.
Now, Garrett, Charlie, you guys are friends in real life, right? I mean, you're not just putting it on.
They were.
And you
As
play,
were we all.
We were all friends, and then we made this movie.
and you play brothers in the film, right?
Yeah.
How was that? Was it? Did you
I don't
have
think
to?
that was initially the idea. Initially, JC
No.
was in a little bit of a conundrum because he felt like we looked very similar and had a similar sensibility about us, and it would be distracting to have us sharing screen and not have any relation, and then had a sort of a eureka moment where he said, well, let's just make them brothers.
I find it a little distracting.
In what capacity?
You know, just when we share the same screen and
It's too much for you.
Too powerful.
no, we've been pals for like 15 years, and literally, Charlie is like a brother to me. I've slept on his couch more than I've slept on my brother's couch. So
Man.
it was great.
How does
to
your
play
brother
this.
feel about that? It's fine. There's nobody on his couch.
You should ask how I feel about it.
Is it a nice couch, though?
I was gonna say, Charlie,
I started sleeping on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. So you guys shot on location in Hawaii and Colombia and California. I think I'm saying that right. Which would you recommend for a vacation? You've obviously, this film has you in a lot of horrible situations at the mercy of the elements, but.
we went to like the nicest places to unleash their worst elements.
Yeah, I mean,
They're all great.
Hawaii
vacation
was
places.
pretty incredible. I had never been there.
Yeah, neither had I.
It was stunning. We actually
We did. We lived together, and I was pretty down with Hawaii. I really liked it.
Yeah.
And the Colombia too, though, man. I'm telling you, we were in Bogota, and Bogota is amazing. It's a foodie city, really. Like people travel all around the world to go to restaurants there, and you travel 20 minutes down the mountain in Bogota, and it's a completely different climate. And Colombia is 3 hours from. I recommend going to Colombia.
Yeah,
go to Colombia. Go vacation in Colombia. To me.
Here's a question. This is for Ben. This is from one of our viewers out there on the internet. They're not in the room, they're on the internet.
The internet is somewhere out here.
It's somewhere outside of this room. Talk and Review says, for Ben, when not directing, do you still analyze the film as a director?
Only with JC.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's all part of the same process. Like actors, writers, directors, cameramen. You know, you're all sort of part of the filmmaking process. You just have different roles. I find that it's like a relief in a lot of ways to not have to care about all the things you have to care about as a director and answer all the questions. It's really distracting. You have to be really good at kind of multitasking and having a lot of balls in the air. And there's something kind of lovely about just going like, I can just focus on the little silo of my performance here. And if like the set's falling down, I'll be in my trailer.
That's my problem. Yeah. We've got another question. This is from Kevin. He says, what kind of gun training did you guys take for the movie?
A whole lot.
Yeah, I would guess by the film.
Yeah, I actually started here in New York. I was going to a place in Brooklyn. This guy named Sam Glenn, who I actually did a lot of the gun stuff for The Punisher, John Barenthal's one. And it was all an indoor indoor place, shooting range that we just did a bunch of tactical stuff in, and then I think the first time we all got together was out in California, Simi Valley, out on the gun range, and Nick John and Kevin Vance and these guys took us through a bunch of drills and really taught us how to have respect for these weapons. You know that. Often in movies, you just kind of think they're just props, but the just training
like finger safety, trigger.
Well, no, it was live ammunition.
Oh, yeah.
So these guys were all standing next to each other, which I think was really interesting. When the consultants pitched that to me, they were like, we want them to be holding real guns, and there's no way to sort of treat the respect of what it can do than to be standing next to each other with something that if there was a mistake. And so you guys, right, on the first day, they were all standing there with live ammunition, 3 feet from each other in a firing line, and I know it changed my perspective of what I thought the experience was going to be like when you're actually holding something that could do real damage.
And DC got out there as well. I mean,
yeah, can we talk? Come on, I don't want to tell the story, but someone else.
Please tell a story.
There was a competition. That's all I'll say.
He was closing one of his eyes, so it doesn't count.
He wouldn't leave, so we had to let him.
We wouldn't stand next to him.
Somebody didn't follow the rules completely and got the highest points.
But
the
that
next
person won,
that got
so.
the highest points was, I can't remember. Oh, it was me.
I love this. So Adria, a lot of people, I think the rest of the crew here, that you guys are in some your faces on big movie posters and everything. You are in one of the biggest, most recognizable properties in the world, but people might not realize that you played Ramirez in Fortnite.
Yep.
Which is the biggest video game in the world. Have you had any feelings about that? Was that a surprise for you? Have you been approached about a Fortnite movie or anything like that?
Oh no, I actually didn't know it was going to be this big. I wish I would have known. Because I would have asked for more money. Yeah.
What was the way? I haven't cracked that in the video game.
I was on a hiatus, and I wasn't going to work for a couple months, and I just thought it would be like a really exciting experience. I never thought I would do anything like that. And it was just fun, and I remember them scrambling. There was like budget issues. It was just like a tiny little independent video game.
Just a little,
That's how it felt
project.
like when we were doing it. And then to see the success of it, it's just insane.
I mean, we've seen the rise and the takeover of superhero movies, and I feel like video game movies could be right around the corner. We've got Ryan Reynolds playing Pikachu, and Sonic the Hedgehog is coming out. Would you guys ever consider doing a video game movie?
Pikachu too, Ben?
I don't know why you're asking me.
Pikachu 2, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, I would.
I mean, this game, this movie, in a lot of ways, it's very video
Metal
game.
Gear Solid. That's the one I'm
really.
Yeah, that I'm throwing my hat in for that one.
Who did you play?
Snake, man.
Holy, well, we'll get Jordan Vogt Roberts on the phone, I guess. No, this is a very
Dig Dug.
Dig Dug. You want to be in the Dig Dug movie?
Mario Brothers, man. You should do the.
You should do a Dig Dug movie.
I am Dig Dug.
I'd be into that. It'd be an underground hit. Let's see. Now, I want to talk a little bit about sort of the stunt work. You guys were doing a bunch of... You can just keep doing this, too. That's fine with me, too. Okay.
Shandor's next project,
Okay,
Hubert.
you have to play a video game
A
character.
very sophisticated Cubert.
Yes.
Characters.
Operating on 2 levels, right?
Okay, I've got Ramirez, I've got Snake, I've got Dig Dug, Hubert.
Yes, I'll go with that. Oscar, as Oscar knows, I don't play video games. I know it's not the right place to say that, but Oscar he's the guy to talk to.
Picking up fans every day.
I know. It's
everywhere you
but
go.
Oscar sometimes, his trailer is at times a very vicious gaming center in there. It's no joke.
Street Fighter V. That's what was happening.
All right. Ben, what about you? If you had to play a video game character.
I don't have anything quite as specific as Oscar. Oscar's really angling for a job. I mean, I'm open. I'm open to,
I don't want to put you on the
maybe the
spot.
guy in Dragon's Lair. Remember that guy?
That's fair enough. What about you guys, Garrett, Charlie?
Oh man, I'm open as well. Mario Kart.
You want to play the cart?
But what's just to say, but with the video game thing, I think the trick will be like, how do you replicate the feeling of what it feels like to play a video game, as opposed to I think where it goes wrong often is with the plots. And
exactly.
Things, but the experience of that.
That's because you can't play a movie, so it's a little bit.
But how do you get some of those feelings of what it feels like when
experience?
Well, they're doing that VR stuff, which is getting cooler and cooler. Where you
Right.
Smell-o-vision.
And the Choose Your Own Adventures, man, that blew my mind for Bandersnatch. The Dark
Oh, yeah.
Matter thing. No, not the Soderbergh thing, Garrett. That one too. But then Bandersnatch on Netflix. Did anyone see that?
There's like 8
Yeah,
endings,
really
right?
cool, yeah.
What'd you say? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's actually
There's like options, basically, like so many ways
I
to
think
kill
there's
yourself
8
on that
endings.
thing.
Just
It
go
was
for
great.
Call of Duty.
that is actually my next question. Netflix is a thing that I feel like everyone has. Obviously, Triple Frontier, March 13th. Check it out. It's on Netflix. You probably have Netflix. What are you guys watching on Netflix aside from what you're in?
When I was in the UK, I was binging on Drag Race, but it's not in the States on Netflix.
Yeah, it is. It in Latin America and in the UK.
In Latin America and the UK,
I
it's-
ran into Monet Exchange last night.
just saw that. I saw the picture of that.
I freaking ran out of the theater like a bat out of hell, and I went to go get my bodega sandwich, and Monet Exchange was ordering a, can I curse?
Go for it.
Fucking sandwich from
With
the
like
same bodega.
the platinum. Oh man.
And I was
that's
like,
amazing.
oh, I had a horrible show tonight so that I could run into you. Yeah.
The Drag Race is what I was.
Good answer.
I watched I watched the Bundy tapes.
Did you do it home alone?
Yeah, me
I
too.
did, yeah.
Was it scary?
Yeah. Yeah, it was. But it wasn't. He's obviously terrifying, but it went into a lot of things that a lot of cultural elements that built on a lot of poisons of our. Anyway, let's just move on.
Yeah, we can move on.
You
from
guys
that.
put it on Netflix.
What did you think of the Ted Bundy tapes? Anyway, I have one final question. I'd like to apologize in advance, Ben.
That's a terrible way to start. You know what? You can go ahead and move on from that.
They will never let me live it down on the internet if I don't ask. What were you going to do with Batman?
What was I going to do with Batman?
With your Batman movie?
That was part of the problem was that, we worked on a script and I was trying to figure out how to kind of crack it, and I was never happy enough with it where I thought it was worth, actually going out and making it, because I just didn't want to do a version that I wasn't really excited by. So I still don't know.
Great mystery. Well, thank you guys all so much for coming by and answering my dumb questions. I appreciate it. I hope you like what the jungle set. I think this is
We're gonna bring it home.
very exotic.
Are they seeing
You can actually, there are complimentary vines down here. You may help yourself to them. We actually have a clip from Triple Frontier to set up really quick. This shouldn't spoil anything, but this is a scene where you guys are sort of, you're approaching the drug lord's house and you're sort of casing the joint, and it's kind of the first sign that things could go wrong. So if you want to wait until March 13th to watch this, avert your eyes, but without further ado, here's a clip.
Dun dun.
I hope I have kids over here. Does he have kids living in here with him? Is this going to make things a whole lot more complicated and is not what I signed up for?
The family's not the problem. They're the answer.
Why? Church.
Maria is very devout.
Every Sunday morning, he sends
3 guards to the 6 a.m. service. When they get back, he sends the rest of the team
team along with his family into town to Mass. That leaves him and 3 guards in that house. That's our window.
Why would he do that?
Worried about someone taking his kids. And he never leaves his money.
And also, I don't think he believes anyone actually has the balls to come out here and rob him.